another Inside the Studio with Steadfast Collective. I'm Pete Heslop.
And I'm Dan Jones.
And we are making weekly videos chatting to you about what it's like to run a digital product studio. So today we are chatting about things we wish we knew when we started Steadfast.
We sure are.
So let's just jump straight into it. So we started Steadfast 4.5 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's coming up to our 5th birthday. So we've been through the ropes a little bit. And yeah, these are 3 things that we've kind of are now doing, which we wish we did from day one.
Yeah.
It would have made our lives a lot easier.
Definitely.
So Dan, what's the big main one?
So the biggest one I think is the statement of works, which we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
So what that is it's basically a ledger of what we're going to deliver for a client, when it's going to be delivered, and how much it's going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
So before we'd obviously give quotes and sort of send that across, but having a really clear document that's signed by the client and that has had sort of all of the stakeholders, so the developers and the client, sort of look over it and agree to it. It gives a really clear scope and outline to each project.
Yeah.
And that's come in massively handy to make sure that we're delivering what we say we're going to deliver, and not having a load of extra work put on ourselves, and also not missing features that we'd agreed that we would do. And I think it's helped both ways, and it's also really helped to make the team really sit down and think about the project before we necessarily agree everything.
For sure. And we worked really closely with our solicitors, who are Hybrid Legal, based in Southampton. We work really closely with them on this. And it's one of those questions that when you're chatting to other agency owners comes up quite often, is how do you do your legal process?
Yeah.
So for us, like you said, we have the statement of work, which is kind of based on either a one-off project or an ongoing retainer.
Yeah.
We then also have something called an MSA, so a Master Services Agreement. So that's our big long document, which basically says who has what IP, how do we work, like basically all the legal nuts and bolts. You get that signed at the beginning, and then second comes the statement of work, and we have one of them for each project. Doesn't matter how big, how small. And what I really like about it is there's a field in there, so you fill it in every time, and one of the fields literally says excluded. So you can be really clear. So we can say to them, no, we don't provide content or for this project, or we are not doing content input for this project. And it's so black and white about what we do and what we don't do, that hopefully it's not that we can then get out of helping the client. It's so that the client understands what they're paying for, essentially.
Yeah, and the scoping is massively important, because sometimes they expect that they've paid a very small amount just to get some development work, and then they suddenly expect that you're then going to do the hosting, you're going to set up all the servers, you're going to transfer all their website across, all their data across, when they might not necessarily have paid for that. And it also means that our team can sit down and think about what we actually need to talk about, and if there's other services we need to offer, we can make sure that the client's aware of that and that they know that they're going to need that.
It's very clear cut.
Yeah.
So then rolling on to our number 2 from that, I guess, is when we were looking at our process thing, what we have started to do now is actually write those processes down.
Yeah.
And that can be as simple as, once a client inquires, add them to HubSpot. And we literally have a flow diagram where it goes through each of the phases of the project. And for us, that's important for a few things. First of all, it gives us a good idea of where we are on a project. So at any point somebody can go, where are we at on that project? And we can go, okay, I understand. You can literally point at the diagram and you understand. But also it gives you a good understanding of where you can make improvements. And when you then bring in new members of staff, it's really clear for them how we do things.
Yeah, so that's something I think when we've hired new people, it's now really become clear that these processes need to be more detailed. And as a team, it makes sure that everyone's aware of what everyone else is doing and where things are. And it really helps sort of reiterate, not only to us as well, but we can also say along to the client, we're at this stage, this is what's next, this is what we're expecting to do, and this is when we would expect it to be sort of done.
Definitely.
And that it goes both ways again, and it's not just about making the processes clear for ourselves, it's about making the processes clear for our clients as well.
A good example would be that on the design process, there's a point that before a design reaches the project manager to then pass on to the client, it must go via the developer who's building that. Because it's bit us before, and it shouldn't do, because we should have learned this by now, but it's when a developer kind of comes to a design and they go, that menu's crazy, and the budget does not allow for that.
Yeah.
And it's just bringing people in at an earlier stage where when it's written down in a, this is how we work kind of workflow, you don't miss those steps. Where before, you're really busy, you're hectic, you need to get out to the client as quick as possible. It's easy to miss something like that. And now we hopefully don't.
Yeah, it's been super handy on that side of things, because there are some bits that are really easy to do in design that are just incredibly technically difficult.
Yeah.
And the better designs we're doing, the more we're having to think about the cost of the design and the time available to do that design.
Yes.
And having all of those stakeholders, again, each phase where we're going through the process, it makes it really clear, and it makes us be able to catch bits where we can necessarily maybe offer an alternative solution or something like that earlier on, and catch those things before they go out.
Yeah. So we're finding having a kind of workflow written down, having the process written down, really important for us. It's been good. And then what's third? What's our final point, Dan?
So that one would be making a bit of noise.
Yeah.
So you may have noticed that we're doing videos at the moment. But yeah, also on social media, trying to put more content out, trying to share more of our ideas, and just generally putting more things out into the world as a studio.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the dev team have been working on packages.
Yeah.
Sarah's been working on putting out our designs on different sort of design areas. And we're trying to obviously share some of the insights that we've learned as a studio.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's really important, both for us as a studio. It helps us develop those ideas and really sort of internalize them, but also help other studios and other people who are looking to start studios, because it can help them avoid some of the mistakes that we might have made, or just get some tips on how to do it better.
Yeah. And with the making noise one, that's something we wish we started earlier, and I don't think we were bold enough in what we were doing. I don't think we were bold enough in being a small studio. There's nothing wrong with being small and really good. That's a completely legitimate angle to take. And what we're finding is in the last 6-12 months, as we've been kind of ramping up this noisiness, is people will say to me, you're very busy on LinkedIn at the moment, or I'll be at an event and they'll say, the video you did, and people will talk to me about content I've produced, and they've got to like minute 12 of it, and they're talking to me about points which are way down the video. And for me, I'm finding that the content we are producing is going very deep for people, and people are often returning to watch the next thing or read the next thing, and that's building those conversations. It's almost like when you follow somebody on Twitter and then you meet them in real life, it's almost like you know them. So when you meet someone at like Laravel Live and you meet them for the first time, you can have that connection like you already know them.
No, that's really true.
And we're finding that by putting a face to the content we're doing and the writing we're doing and so on, people have this good picture of what we are and what we do before they even meet us, and that's a great place to be for us.
I mean, I've met people recently, other agency owners. I've gone there and I've met them, and they've known who I am and what I do before I've ever met them personally. And it's been like, oh, you know who I am. This is really weird, but this is great, because now I feel like the ice is broken. I can just talk to you. You know where I'm at, you know what I do. It just makes things really easy.
It does.
Especially in such a small community. Well, it's not even a small community, but in quite a tight-knit community.
Yeah, for sure.
It comes in really handy.
So to wrap up, we've got the 3 points with things we wish we started at the beginning. The first one is having statement of work and like a really good legal process in place at the beginning. That would have saved us a lot of time and money. Number 2 is kind of knowing and writing down your process so the whole team knows it. It's no good just being in the head of one person. It needs to be down on paper. It needs to be out to the team. And the third one is make noise from the start. Like if you're a freelancer going for it, be proud about that fact. If you're a corporate, go after that. But make noise, be busy, be out and about, and be doing stuff, because nothing worse than seeing kind of an inactive, dormant company. You want give it some life.
You just want to get on it and get doing it. So the one thing I'd say to everyone is, if you're running an agency, thinking of starting an agency, get in and get doing these things straight away. They will help you in the long run, as we found, and it just makes things easier.
For sure.
Definitely. And if you've got any ideas, share them with us, because there's definitely some stuff that we can improve on, I'm sure, and we'd love to get some tips too.
Definitely. So hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. Just search Certified Collective. Find us on your favourite podcast app or Spotify for the audio. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.